what are the smart ways to use Google? Now, a lot of people have been using Google for many things. For example, as a spell check, as a calculator, as to do currency conversions or to convert Fahrenheit into Celsius and those kinds of things, and as a translating tool. Now, I won't cover those. Those you could find out about those just by Googling and trying to figure it out. What I want to talk about today is ways to train your Google, ways to make Google smarter for you, right? So let's say I'm doing a paper on internet radio, right? I'm trying to see how the radio industry or broadcasting industry has changed over time, and I'm really curious to know about internet radio. So here I go. First thing I would do is obviously go to Google and type in internet radio. So far, so good. Now, what I get as a result set is, a jumble of various things, radio services on the internet. I mean, maybe a Wikipedia page, which is fine for finding out what are the radio stations out there. But for an academic paper, not so much. So here's a smart way to use Google. Now, if you think about the internet as a place where lots and lots and lots of people are talking and discussing and posting stuff and posting papers, what you have to think about is who are the people on the internet who are saying the most interesting things? And how can I get Google to focus on those? Now, this leads into thinking about who are the stakeholders or the agent network theory from Bruno Latour, which is the theoretical framework I'm applying here. But the point is, who are the people talking on the internet, posting interesting things? Now, let's make a bet. I'm going to bet with you that information from governments are more interesting on average than anything else on the internet. So I'm assuming that if I could filter out all of the stuff that I don't want and focus only on government websites, then I'll get better information, better quality of evidence, more authoritative sources than any random web page. So comparing the two. So how do I do that? How do I tell Google, hey Google, only give me results from the Canadian federal government? Here's the trick. Now notice from the results set page that there's this little widget here on the page, on the Google page. If you click here, you have access to a few things, including the advanced search. And notice that I'm not logged into Google, right? I haven't logged in with my Gmail account. So this is the advanced search in Google. One of the features that I love to use is the site or domain filter. And this is where I tell Google, hey Google, why don't you only give me results from the Canadian government, .gc.ca. If I execute that, then I have access to information from the Canadian government about the term internet radio. Another thing that I could do back here on the advanced search is to, instead of saying internet and radio as two distinct words that are floating around, I could move this into the exact phrase, which means that it's going to keep the words stuck together. And then I can execute this search, and then I get results where these two words are stuck together. Now, notice how Google translates these parameters into its search string, right? Notice how you have here the cite command right here. The cite command right here. This cite colon command is a special keyword, a special phrase in Google that Google interprets differently. And this is telling Google, hey Google, eliminate everything else and only give me results from .gc.ca. Here's another trick that I love to do with Google's advanced search, right? So if I go back here to the advanced search, right, and I have the phrase internet radio, and I want the Canadian government back in here, so .gc.ca. Well, I know that the government loves to put a lot of really interesting facts about the world in long, boring PDF documents. So I could use another filter here, the file type filter, and say, hey, Google, only give me results that are in PDF format. And again here, I get these varying results. That's very different from the previous ones where Google is actually feeding me PDF documents from the Canadian government that contain the exact phrase internet radio. Now, the point here is that if you think about who's talking on the internet and filter results only to those people, then you get to those people who have a lot of authoritative information, who have a lot of quality, then you're actually using Google in a very efficient way for your academic paper. Now, I did mention in a previous video that the Canadian government doesn't allow full indexing of its websites, which is true. So you have to be careful whenever you discover government agencies posting a lot of interesting information about specific industries. It's a very good idea to go to these specific websites and look for publications and look for news items straight on government websites. So use Google as a discovery mechanism, but then dig deeper to try to find more results from the same government agencies beyond Google. So dig deeper. That's a very important point. So in addition to governments, right, and remember you can have federal, provincial, local governments, like the city of Montreal has a local government website. So the idea here is you have to think about which level of government could be useful. And remember there's a whole international level as well, like the UN and the OECD, and they also have subscribed publications that you have to pay for, and we have them in the library. But anyways, point here is that you have all these levels of government that can give you insight, and depending on the information you need, you may have to go to the provincial or local level, the city level. Provincial information includes things like healthcare, education, culture. Those are the things that constitutionally provinces in Canada deal with. City level is security, licenses for businesses, different things like that, wellness, urban development. Those kinds of topics would be at a local city level. So you would use the ville.montreal.qc.ca, which is the address of the city of Montreal, to look for those kinds of reports or data. Now, another key stakeholder group on the internet that has a lot of really interesting information are trade associations or lobby groups or consumer groups. These people compile a lot of information and make it available. So let's say I'm interested in microbreweries, right? I want to start my own beer making operation. And so I could say, I'm just going to look for Brewers Association of Canada, Brewers Association, and of course I get to the websites that are developed by people in the industry, by trade associations. And again, these obviously have a bias which serves the interests of its members. So of course, a website like Beer Canada, made by the Canadian Brewers Association, is going to say that beer is a wonderful thing, which it may not always be the case, because there's always a flip side to the story. And trade associations will always give you the party line or whatever benefits its members. But if you understand this bias and you contextualize it, then this information is still useful, especially in a business setting. So if I go to Beer Canada, as an example of a trade association, you can go here. Notice how you have sections like statistics, right? And industry statistics. This is actually a really interesting site to highlight how a trade association can actually give you a lot of evidence for free on the internet. Now, not all trade associations post everything on the internet. There are trade associations that only provide this kind of research to its members, so it's behind closed walls. Those are examples of secrets that we don't have access to, but it's worth a shot. If you really want to Google, right, and you want to use Google as a research tool, then training your Google to find government websites and PDF documents and trade associations is already a great start, because then you're indicating to Google what kinds of reports, what kinds of websites you're looking for now in a university setting, and you're training your Google in a smart way. You're trying to tell Google that you're no longer looking for just plain old popularity as it did with its PageRank algorithm, but you're actually indicating the specific stakeholders that you would prefer to receive results from: governments, trade associations. Now, these are not the only people who create really interesting reports and documents and articles to use in your papers. There are others, but governments and trade associations typically have a lot of information on the free web, and therefore they're a great source to look up via Google for your papers. And obviously, you would have to use other resources, such as the ones from the libraries, to find additional and sometimes, and most oftentimes, better quality information, more authoritative information than what you can find on the free web. But that is already the purpose of another video.